X-Men 97 episode 4. Yep, I am Pops. I love the original series. I've been watching this one. I've been mixed on a couple episodes. We'll talk about that and how I feel about episode 4 right now. Well, I am Pops, and I've been reviewing pop culture stuff for over 20 years, and X-Men animated series is one of my favorites. In fact, in the description is a playlist you could see me doing rewatch videos and reactions to some of the old school ones. And obviously, I've talked about the first 3 episodes of this season. And to be perfectly clear, the first 2 episodes I think I did enjoy. I thought they were really well adapted for the series. Felt like it was a good transitional stuff. Episode 3, I think the wheels came off the train a little bit. They try to do way too much in one episode. I think the Inferno storyline, bringing in Madeline Pryor as the Goblin Queen, dealing with the Gene, it was just so much so fast. And the one question I left us with was, who are their target audience? What are they trying to accomplish? In episode 4, it adds some more confusion to my thesis because we don't really get a single episode. We have 2 episodes or one short episode and half an episode all crammed in together. And I don't exactly know why they did this. So let's get to a little bit of it first, and then we'll kind of circle back to my thoughts on it. All right. The episode is called Motendo, semicolon, Life Death Part 1. And I saw the Part 1, so I didn't really rush to watch or do a video on episode 4 because I was going to do the whole story arc. Well, come to find out, there's really like this little crammed in story, Motendo, which is Mojo and Jubilee on her birthday being sucked out of our universe and into his for video game and entertainment of the masses. And then Life Death starts as part 1, which is the Storm has lost her powers. She meets Forge and they're going to have romance and things like that in the comic books. We get a little bit of that, but then it's a part 1, part 2. And I'm like, well, why did we do this? So the worst part is episode 5 is not it. It's a completely different episode called Remember It. I don't exactly totally get the flow of this series. This is the catch you up part where we get to see, Sunspot, Roberto, who really rarely exists, showing his power. There's comments about it. So why are we not doing that? There's really never a good reason why he just doesn't want to. This is the flashback to Storm losing her powers but meeting Forge. Quick little shot of Wolverine in the credits, and then we get to the story. Now, the story starts out with just basically it's Jubilee's birthday, and they're all there talking about Jubilee. And none of this was really bad. It was just the fact that Magneto is basically doing the old curmudgeon thing of we don't really need to waste our time with this kid's birthday and go to an arcade and do all the things that she wants to do, and they kind of sit around and she's just totally crotchety about it. They kind of sit around and just, I don't know, nobody really does anything. It was actually a little weird because you would think because she's a teenager and she's really the only other young kid in the show. In the comic books, of course, there's kids everywhere. And the movies did that pretty well as a good adaptation. But here it just seemed like, well, there would be balloons. They would already have had stuff in place. So this would be something they would have already summoned. So they didn't want to do that. They wanted to set it up as her birthday thing. So she's in there and she's complaining to Roberto. And then there's this Motendo thing, this game that shows up, acts funky, and then sucks them inside. And they're basically inside a video game, and she's reliving moments in her past before they kind of figure that out. And she's basically having to face off against various things from her past, fight a Sentinel, ultimately fight Magneto, which is probably the most absurd part of it all, that Jubilee could hold her own against Magneto. It is really a video game concept that she could, so take it with a grain of salt. This was a fine episode. I don't know why we think fans want a Jubilee-centric episode or why we want more Jubilee, and we completely ignore what the other X-Men are doing. Like, no one noticed where she went. No one was looking for her. Like, the previous Mojos have had like a separation of a team, and everyone's looking for the other character. Where did everybody go? We don't really get a lot of that. So it's just her and Roberto. They're on this little adventure together. And this is the Mojo verse, right? Where he's entertaining the masses, right? That's what you see. He was animated very lean. He's lost a lot of weight. He's like thinner, creepier, more wrinkly. I don't quite know why they went that direction. And then it's just spirals there. They're not able to figure out what's going on. They have a hacker, and the hacker is none other than a version of herself. So Mojo makes a digital Jubilee to test his systems, and Jubilee basically helps herself. I thought it was as dumb as it sounds, but it for kids. And this Jubilee does lecture the other Jubilee about, you can't live in video games, you can't waste your time forever. Yeah, you could stay here and you could play it safe and live in video game land, your fantasy land, but you have to live real life too. So the messaging of taking the 90s concept and making a nice 2024 message probably is one of the better messages that we've gotten to this point. But it's shoehorned in a Jubilee episode where I'm not sure most people care. Like, I don't know how many people are clamoring for Jubilee. We got 2 Jubilees, not just one. And Roberto, who uses one arm of his powers, he still hasn't transformed into a full-on Sunspot before. At least not yet. So I don't know. I felt like it was a fine Jubilee episode, and it goes on. It ends with a kiss when they go back. I just thought that was like, okay, that's it. And then we're at 17, a little over 17 minutes with credits. So let's say 16 minutes, and only like 9 minutes to go. Again, credits, so maybe 8 minutes to go. I don't understand why we just didn't flesh this episode out more. Like, why did we just not have more episode, more depth, more back and forth to make a 25-minute Jubilee episode and then make the life-death story work and do a 35-minute episode? There was no set amount of time compared to when they were doing it on Fox and they had their, TV schedule. Here on streaming, they can do what they want to do. This makes no sense to me whatsoever. So that's my complaint with that. Again, good messaging. Don't know who cares about Jubilee or not, but it's what it is. Then we move to LifeDeath. Now, LifeDeath basically is just Forge and Storm. They're breaking bread. They're talking. They're getting to know each other. The romance tensions are kind of there. They care about one another. He has such a great connection to his heritage and the land and everything about it that it works so well that you immediately feel pretty immersed in everything. I really just enjoyed the episode from that point of view. And it goes along relatively quickly as far as kind of moves through that she doesn't have her powers. He's going to try to help her. What his research is, he's tried this test, and she's just at her wit's end. And he sees, she can see the tear forming on her face. He sees everything within her, but then he has to come clean. And he comes clean by admitting that he had worked on tech that robs the mutants of their powers. Like, he has to go with basically a past that is full of warts and mistakes, and he's very transparent. And she doesn't take it well, of course, and he tries to stop her, and then she kind of rides out into chaos. And then later there's like an attack, and long story short, we in the comic book world is going to know what's going to be happening here with the adversary. And this is basically Forge's sort of like suppressed Indian alter ego that creates this sort of like person. I don't know how they're going to translate it for the show. This become the kind of thing I thought to myself, why are we adapting this for kids show? Sometimes I wonder if the executives pitch the show, but they don't, well, who are we selling this to? And because they're just doing streaming, they can just get away with just doing it without really a marketing strategy. Like, no one has to have like a set audience because you don't have to sell ads. Like, there's no one buying ads on Disney Plus for kids for the X-Men show. There's just subscribers. So you can just plop your kid down in front of this thing, and they're just not, they're either going to be watching something that's probably not really at their age level, or it's content maybe they shouldn't have quite yet. I could see a kid being scared by it a little bit, but I mean, I just don't understand the point. Like, what is the point of, what are you trying to accomplish? Again, this is my biggest problem with the X-Men one compared to the vintage one, and like Batman animated series, is I don't feel like the target on it. So it was actually a fine adaptation. It was a fine story. It was like 8 minutes, and it kind of fits into my pet peeve of just tell a good story. I hate backstories in comic books. I will praise some. You will catch me praising some when they're good, but I just tell your story. Just make it, flesh it out into an own story. I really just can't. I just can't stand this. So this I feel so exasperated by the show, hence the reason that I'm not racing to do videos every single week. It's taken me forever to just get to this point because I always leave sort of like deflated. It could have been so good. And then the questions of why, like the Jubilee episode is not the worst episode in the world, but did we want a Jubilee episode? And if you're just going to do it, then flesh it out to a full episode. If you're doing the Forge Storm thing, then just do it. Have that adversary thing show up in the middle. That's your big pivot point in the story. But just my opinions. I'm sure you guys will give me yours. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time. I'm Pops.
You made them the most popular comic book in the world. You voted their television premiere your favorite Fox Kids show. Now, those amazing Mighty Mutants are back in one incredible hour that'll knock you out.
Surrender, mutant.
Of course not.
This one is for you.
Watch the series premiere of X-Men next Saturday morning on Fox.
To help them in their never-ending battle against the evil Decepticons, the Autobots create a new breed of robot, Dinobots.
Transformers, more than meets the eye. Dinobots wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons. The Transformers.
The Decepticons are attacking! The Dinobots will get them! Can't beat the Dinobots!
Sold separately from Hasbro.
Star Wars. It's great in the arcade. Whoa! TIE fighters! Fireballs! Coming right at me! Watch the laser towers. Aim for the tops. Pick in the cannons. Use the force. It's coming too fast! It's Ray! It's Ray! My shields are gone! All right! I'm going in!
Oh, some game, huh?
Some game!
In a galaxy of video games, there is only one. Star Wars, the arcade.
Thou art life eternal. Answer the prayer of thy servants. Come to us again out of the legend. Mother, protect us with thy power of life.
This is Dr. Paul Bearer. You know, things are kind of dead around your house on Saturday afternoons. Why don't you join us on Creature Feature in the Tenement Castle for a couple of horrible old movies like this one.
Right? And I'm not playing no